Ash Limited just from the point of view of profitability. So if we look at the figures here on screen, we have sales 1.5 million, less cost of sales 790,000. So that would give us a gross profit of 730,000, from which we take our operating expenses and our interest, and we'd get a net profit of 50,000. Now, it's typical in these questions to look at the return on capital employed, and you'll remember that the return on capital employed is the net profit before interest and before tax, expressed as a percentage of capital employed. So in our case, we have no corporation tax, we have interest of 30,000, so we'd have to add the interest of 30,000 back to the net profit. So it becomes 50,000 plus 30,000, or 80,000, expressed as a percentage of the capital employed down there of 880,000, and that will give us 9.09% as our return on capital employed, or if you like, 9.1%. So using that 9.1% then, and just talking about profitability, we would say that 9.1% means that the company is profitable, because it's much higher than the return on risk-free investment, which when I wrote this first was between 1 and 2%. Currently it's barely over 0%. So the same answer pertains, that at 9.1% the return is much higher than the return on risk-free investment. But when we look at last year's 10%, we'd have to say then that the shareholders would be unhappy with that trend, and I'd quantify that trend and I'd say we're down 9% in profitability. You might double check where I'm getting that 9%. Our return on capital employed has gone from 10% down to 9.1%, in other words down 0.9%, down 0.9% from 10. Check it out for yourself, you should get a 9% decrease in profitability. You would also want to compare the return on capital employed with the rate of interest that they're paying on their borrowings, which in this case is the 10% on the debentures. And if you're borrowing at 10% and you're earning 9.1%, you'd have to say that that's an inefficient use of funds. So the shareholders will be happy with the 9.1% return on capital employed because it is profitable, but they'd be unhappy with the trend and the inefficient use of funds. And profitability would come under the heading of performance.